Hello and welcome to the Total Soccer Show. My name is Daryl Grove and I'm joined by a man who loves an afternoon of European Champions League soccer. His name is Taylor Rockwell. Hello.
Hello. Of course I do. Yeah. It's the best.
And of course, before anyone gets annoyed, I know it's called UEFA Champions League. Yeah. But I was getting confused by the time zones.
That's fair.
Because we get to watch it at 2:45 Eastern here on the US East Coast, right?
Yeah. It's good for us. It wasn't good back when I had an office job.
Yes.
And it required some creative scheduling.
Well, we've scheduled it ourselves today to come in the office and watch Liverpool versus Manchester City. If you don't want to hear the score, look away now. It finished Liverpool 3, Manchester City 0.
Totally saw it coming.
Anfield.
Did not.
Weirdly, I did feel this coming. It was either going to be Liverpool rampaging through Man City with, isn't usually a Klopp, and even back in the Brendan Rodgers days, there were Liverpool wins that came with clusters of goals.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? All at the same time. Or they go rampaging at Manchester City and Manchester City would pass their way through and it would be a big Man City win. It felt like it was going to be either one of those two outcomes.
I mean, or really it could have been like 2-2. I wouldn't have been surprised with that one either. What I think did surprise
Guaranteed
me...
action. Yes. I was really looking forward to today.
I was very surprised in the end, though, with the way the first half went, especially given that in the first 5-10 minutes, we both kind of felt like, City seemed like they've got this one under wraps. They've got it in control. They're working the ball around. They're probing a little bit. They hadn't got any shots yet. That became a recurring theme for them.
Did they end with no shots?
I believe they ended with shots on target, yeah. But then it seems like I kind of believe the idea that Liverpool broke, caught them on the counter, got that one goal. City were a little bit surprised. 2 more quick goals, and that's kind of all she wrote, at least for this leg.
And I think there's more. Maybe we can get into more detail on this, but I think Liverpool had a very good defensive plan to handle Manchester City, which sort of it makes it twice as good a defensive plan once you're a goal up.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying?
I think so.
Maybe we'll talk about that a little bit later. Should we get to the first goal? So it's Mohamed Salah scores after 12 minutes at Anfield. But it's really all about the big old counter-attack.
Yeah, he scores in the 12th minute. You could back it up to like 10 minutes and 30 seconds because that's when City get this corner.
That's where I would put it. Whenever Manchester City win this corner and make the decision to literally send everybody forward.
And that's the key
Except
thing.
for the goalkeeper.
Because I don't always go with you. Oh, he was probably pretty far up there. I don't always agree with you about the idea of sending center backs forward. I think I'm with you on if you're ahead, it doesn't make sense to send them forward because statistically you're not very likely to score a goal.
And then you're just taking a risk by sending them forward. Yeah, so it's 0-0 in the 10th minute at this point.
Yeah, but I'm willing to go with you to some extent that that's not always a great idea. What I would say compounds that is, number one, when you send them forward but then play the corner short. I don't think that necessarily makes sense.
You had Laporte, Otamendi, Company, three. I know Laporte played left back, but basically 3 centre backs all in the box for Manchester City, and they play it short and try to work it around the top.
And then we were both kind of shocked because then you see Gundogan come into frame, you see Kyle Walker, and you see Leroy Sané. We froze it there. They're all within 40 yards at least of Liverpool's goal. That's the entire team for Man City, all that far forward.
So is there just a lot of faith on Ederson maybe to sweep up any balls that go forward?
I think there's a lot of faith on Man City, in Man City, however, to not lose possession. And I think you could hear that in the post-match interview. Guardiola didn't necessarily blame anybody, but he did say, we have a mistake, we give away possession, it leads to a goal.
He didn't say Leroy Sané,
but
he may as well have. I actually thought it was an accurate sort of analysis of what happened, but it was the most polite way of saying it. Because I think a lot of people watching maybe won't necessarily tie this directly to Sané, but if he's sort of named and shamed in front of the cameras, then it becomes a whole thing.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying?
And I think, yes, I absolutely agree with you, and I think he didn't want to do that, especially given the strong season Leroy Sané has had. You then get painted as
to this point.
Yeah, well, but then you get painted as a fickle manager who, as soon as something goes wrong, you don't defend your players, and then there it is. So I understand why he wouldn't do that, but I do think that a big part of City's game, and a lot of teams' game in the modern game, is you try to establish possession as close as you can to the opponent's goal. So you want to win the ball back high up the pitch. You want to get that ball forward, then you want to get possession going. And I think that's what they were trying to do. Take the corner short, you've got all your numbers in there, you work it around, you keep your big men in the box if you do want to put it in, but otherwise you can try to build through the middle, create something. I think the number one thing you don't want to do is have Leroy Sané, who, as we said, is basically one of your last defenders, give the ball away. It is a pass diagonally to the top of Liverpool's box.
It's so bad we can't tell who he's looking for, right? It may have been a ball intended to lead Kevin De Bruyne, like just play slightly ahead of him to lead him onto it. He could have been trying to go even wider, maybe out to Silva, but it's so off target that you can't even tell which player it was aimed at.
Because it's like the pace of the ball is so slow that it would imply it was going to Kevin De Bruyne, but the angle of the hit implies it was going to David Silva. Either way, not a good pass, especially when you then see basically, I think Sadio Mane gets it, drops it to James Milner. James Milner, in 2 touches, has that ball 60, 70 yards down the field.
That's why we call him James Milner, for passes like that. I mean, so obviously Man City are scrambling backwards at this point, and we tried to figure out their shape. Not that they really had a deliberate shape as they were defending, especially a weird snake curved diagonally across the field. It was not a good defensive shape, which is why I don't think sending men forward for a corner is a good idea in that case. But Milner picks the perfect pass to evade all of them, right? It's like down the line and then bending back inside. Really good pass.
Yep. I mean, it's an excellent...
to Salah? It's Salah, right?
Salah, we think, was offside. Maybe a half step or so. Pep Guardiola did not know that until the post-match interview. He didn't look thrilled with that news.
Did you see him? So we watched the same post-match interview. Did you see him hear that news and then sort of decide not to make a big deal of it? I thought I saw the wheels turning. Like,
with that stare, I can never tell if it's that. I can never tell if it's looking at the journalist and thinking, you're trying to bait me here, or if it was genuine.
Every interview is a tactical matchup for Guardiola.
I think so. But I think there was also an element of genuine confusion of like, I didn't quite get that. Oh, but because it was that interviewer, I think maybe a little bit intimidated, didn't really ask questions. Nope. It was a lot of like, atmosphere. Question mark? And then he had to kind of riff with it.
If you're looking for this to see what we're talking about, it's the BT Sport interview. I don't know who the interviewer was.
And to be fair, I wouldn't be very confident and like strong in my questioning of Pep Guardiola, but that one was sort of...
I'd have asked him about sending men forward for a corner.
Well, you say that.
I have a special interest lobby group specifically for this.
Yeah, I think until you're being stared at by Pep Guardiola, maybe then you back off a little bit. But in this case, all I'm saying is that I think he maybe said something offside, and Pep Guardiola heard that and thought, he said something about offside. Oh, he was offside? Oh, okay. And then was like a little bit annoyed, but didn't go into detail.
All right, so off Mohamed Salah goes on the end of that James Milner ball. He's dribbling at the Man City defence. I believe Kyle Walker has got back and is sort of taking him on at an angle, trying to square up to him a little bit. We thought Salah was a little slow to play the pass, but in the end, he kind of ends up working an angle in a good way to slip it through to Firmino.
Yep.
So how does this work? Otamendi comes charging in like a man with no brakes.
And like kind of steps on the ball. There's a little bit of a collision, but Firmino basically keeps the ball but has to shoot the ball quickly. So he like takes a touch, shoots, it's saved, ball spills to Kyle Walker, and I think because he is also kind of breaking back, trying to get in a position at full speed, he's not maybe in control of his body the way he would be normally, so he's not able to control and then clear. The ball gets stuck under his foot and it gets poked away by Firmino.
So any blame on Kyle Walker there?
I mean, only, I guess, in the sense that, like, you want to react a little bit faster and maybe just put it away one time. There is, whenever it's Pep Guardiola, there's always that kind of question of, is he trying to settle and pass out of the back as opposed to just, I'm going to put it out for a corner and then we don't have to worry about this, or
maybe
put it out for a throw-in.
But that's an absolutely emergency measure desperation moment, right? There can't be sort of an edict that you have to do. You have to try and play it out of your own 6-yard box surrounded by Liverpool players.
I mean, you never know. That said, I did see Ederson once just boot the ball upfield, and I saw Guardiola do like a clap, like as if to say like, that was the right time to do that. So I don't think it's always built out of the back. I have a feeling that this is one of those where if you're watching it and maybe not trying to blame anybody, you just see it as like, oh, okay, I understand what happened. But in extra slow motion, it looks extra bad for Kyle
It does look
Walker.
extra bad, right? But I actually think the credit goes to Firmino.
Oh, yeah.
Because he does essentially like a very sort of compact version of the gegenpress, right? He applies pressure immediately after a turnover as Kyle Walker's got the ball. Firmino's just on him to poke that ball away. He reacts fast, essentially.
Yeah, absolutely.
And aggressively, but smartly. Like he doesn't sort of... Because you could like bundle Walker over or do something stupid. It's a very clever poke tackle from Firmino.
And I think like you're going to have a couple players who get the headlines, and justifiably so, in this game for the way this game went. I think Roberto Firmino is maybe number 2 on my list of players who maybe won't get as much credit, but probably deserve a lot of credit for that work, for a lot of working off the ball and making smart runs and trying to link up play. I thought he was excellent in this game.
I agree. I'm going to mouth the player who I think is number 1, and maybe we'll discuss him later. Is it
Nope, it's not.
Oh,
no, he's number 3 for me. He's number 3.
Okay, we'll talk about all these guys later then.
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, so ball goes across to Salah.
Yep.
Salah does that special thing where, just like Zach Morris in Saved by the Bell, he does a timeout,
basically.
slows everything down. Everybody freezes around him so he can take all the time he likes to
You knew I was about to correct you for saying slows it down. I was like, no. Timeout means freeze, my friend. But then you got it.
So there we go.
Yep.
1-0 Liverpool after 12 minutes.
Yep.
And then I would like to talk about what happens next to Mr. Leroy Sané. Because this first goal for Liverpool started with the Sané giveaway. Essentially had a heavy touch, right? And then mishit that pass to we don't know who, but eventually it ends in the back of the net, Liverpool goal. I would say he then goes on to have what Taylor Rockwell calls a quicksand game.
I do.
Can you please explain what a quicksand game is?
Sure. It's essentially, it comes from, to give credit where credit is due, The Replacements, starring Keanu Reeves and Gene Hackman, where they have that conversation because his character is like famous for kind of messing it up in big games, his being Keanu Reeves. And it's this idea that when you start to make, especially in big games, you start to make one mistake that you wouldn't normally make, it makes you then...
Like Sonny did.
Yeah, it makes you then second guess your decision making that you wouldn't otherwise even be thinking about. You would just be playing naturally, but now you're thinking, you're questioning, you're wondering, should I do this? Or you're thinking, I better not mess this up. I messed that last pass up, so this one better be perfect. And as soon as you're sort of really focused on this one needs to be perfect, as opposed to, oh, that pass is on, then you're really thinking too much, and you end up taking too long to make decisions, and then you start getting caught in possession and giving the ball away. And once you've done that, you sink further into the quicksand.
I think one really good example is there's a Man City breakaway. Sané ends up
14th minute.
Yeah, he gets, so it's not 2 minutes after the goal, right? And then you include all the the time it takes to kick off again. This is almost immediately after the goal. Sané is not like one-on-one, but he's through kind of, right? And he ends up dragging a shot just wide of Karius, but it's not a convincing shot at all. And Kevin De Bruyne had made a run to the outside of him that was on for a good 5 seconds, and absolutely the pass should have been played. And Sané either delayed too long and then Salah closed De Bruyne down, or he was just determined to be the guy that scored the equaliser.
Yes.
Either way, he's making decisions not because they're the best decision, but because he's trying to make up for the mistake that he made a few minutes
I agree
earlier.
with that. And if you'll forgive me, this is going to be a little bit circuitous, but going back to England's...
I've done this show before.
England's friendly against, I think it was the Netherlands, or maybe it was Italy, but either way, it was when Raheem Sterling kind of broke in the exact same run that Leroy Sané made in this game, and he played it left to Ashley Young, and then Ashley Young just had that shot that went wide. I think it was tipped wide. So it was the Italy game, because Donnarumma tipped it wide. I remember thinking in that game, if that were City, that ball would have gone wide, then it would have come back across, then it would have been like dropped back for like a tap-in goal. And I think that's what they would have done here. I think that's why Kevin De Bruyne makes that run down the outside, so that he can get the ball in, he can square it back for whomever can play it back to maybe Leroy Sané. Leroy Sané has the tap-in, but I think he is so focused.
You're mispronouncing Gabriel Jesus.
Yeah, thank you. Well, he wasn't even... Was he on the field? No one is really sure. So I think... Again, that kind of emphasizes to me that he wasn't really thinking about the way City usually play. There's a reason why the top 3 assist leaders in the Premier League are all Man City players because of how they play. And I think here he was thinking, I got to make up for that mistake. I got to be the one to fix things. And I also think that's symptomatic of a quicksand game. If you're so focused on making up for a past mistake by making some heroic play, again, you're not really focused on the team.
And then by contrast, Mohamed Salah had already had a heroic goal, and he makes a heroic sprint back to eventually close down that pass to Kevin De Bruyne. Like he doesn't tackle Sané, he just closes down the pass to De Bruyne by sprinting about 2/3 the length of the field.
Yeah,
right?
and I think this one may have come from a Liverpool corner, actually, now that I think about it, or at least a Liverpool set piece. And in that regard, and so basically, like, Mohamed Salah is very far away from his own goal and really, really quickly spots that Kevin De Bruyne is making a run and no one is going to be with him.
He's seen Man City on TV, right?
He must have. And he,
he knows where this is going.
I mean, he goes a good 80 yards back at full speed just to be in a position to make sure that that pass isn't as easy as it otherwise would have been.
Here's how you know he goes full speed. At one point, he just puts his head down. You know the thing where you really are running as fast as you can and almost you don't care what else is going on. If you just put your head down, I'm not sure it's good technique, but it is what you do, though, right?
It is what you do. and to the extent that Leroy Sané, again, has maybe taken one extra touch or 2 extra touches, in other games, maybe he plays that one and Kevin De Bruyne is in, or he has time to then pass it. But Leroy Sané hesitates, and by the time I think he does look to play that ball, he can feel Mohamed Salah coming, or hear somebody coming, or thinks, "Oh, that ball might not
Salah's
get through."
in the way of the pass.
Yeah, and so instead he goes to shoot.
And the reason we're so focused on the Leroy Sané quicksand game is I think it's really important because I think what Pep Guardiola was doing with Leroy Sané was key to what he wanted Manchester City to do. And once that sort of piece of the machine is kind of malfunctioning, or it's got this quicksand in the gears, then it suddenly doesn't work, right? So I'd like to stop for a second to think about Pep Guardiola's approach to this game and what he had set Manchester City up to do.
Sure. Do you want to start with Leroy Sané? Because I think you're correct that is a big part of it.
Yeah, I think his role is key.
I think we've, as we saw this past weekend and in games previously, it seems like Leroy Sané has been instructed to and enjoys hugging the touchline.
Yeah.
So he is always there to
get up there, get wide,
to provide width, but also to be a very attacking presence. If you go back to Liverpool's game from this weekend against Crystal Palace, they really struggled to find Salah. They really struggled to find any sort of attacking fluidity until in the second half. This is a point on Match of the Day. That Trent Alexander-Arnold was clearly told, you need to get forward, you need to be the one to provide width for us. As soon as he gets forward, he pulls defenders out wide. Now there's more space for Salah. Now he can combine with Mohamed Salah. And I think maybe Pep Guardiola saw that, looked at Trent Alexander-Arnold and thought, he's maybe already the weak spot for them defensively. They've got a couple injuries. They've got a couple players missing for this one. And maybe he's going to be looking to get forward because this is the first leg, because it's at home. So there's going to be space in behind. Maybe he'll be caught out a couple times. We can go into that area.
I'd even say that picking Aymeric Laporte as the left back, Aymeric Laporte is absolutely a centre back, right? To the point where I really thought it was a back three to begin with, as opposed to what Otamendi and company were centre backs, Laporte left back, Kyle Walker right back, right? So really Laporte is just there to be a sort of non-overlapping fullback, a proper defensive fullback. So that means so much down that left side. And they concentrate on that left side as well. So much is on everybody being convinced that Leroy Sané is going to have the beating of Trent Alexander-Arnold, and he absolutely did not.
No.
And I think it's because of that sort of quicksand first pass problem.
Agreed. And I think going the opposite way from when I went before with like the underrated players from this game, I think Trent Alexander-Arnold justifiably is going to be the one I think that gets a lot of the headlines.
You think?
I think it'll be him and Mohamed Salah.
That's
Salah for scoring that like first goal and for causing problems, for making the type of defensive runs we talked about. But Trent Alexander-Arnold, just because I think people looked at that and thought, oh boy, like we got him and Dejan Lovren on one side, this could be bad. Instead, it was kind of locked down from those two.
And he kind of stood up to Sané. I remember a moment where there was a lot of left-footed touches from Sané, just looking to like go past and accelerate past Alexander-Arnold. And eventually, he just did the sort of classic stand him up and then poke tackle. And Alexander-Arnold's away with the ball.
And to keep going, though, with the idea of like what Guardiola was trying to do, I kind of get why you were inclined to think this was a back three, because it seems like it was more often than not a 4-2-3-1. But I would say you could, like, at times see it almost as like a three with Aymeric Laporte like on the left side of the field. Sorry, listeners, this might be a little bit confusing, but Daryl can help explain. But you've got like your three, and then it's almost like a 3-3-3-1 because then Kyle Walker is so far forward with those two holding midfielders that you've almost got three there on the kind of the right-hand side, and then you've got three attackers. Basically.
I think the way to think of it is maybe as unbalanced, because Laporte, the left back,
stays home. It's a Y fighter from Star Wars. Boom.
That is a deep nerd
a
reference.
Y-wing,
and then Kyle Walker sort of the right, theoretically the right back is all the way advanced, whereas Gundogan, the right winger, essentially in the 4-2-3-1, is tucked inside. So it's a very unbalanced formation, but it didn't work out.
It did not work at all.
Because it's all based on Sané being able to provide from the left.
Yes, and I think for Liverpool's part, a key thing there was that they recognized that Kyle Walker is going to be the threat coming down that right-hand side because he's got that pace and because you've got Gundogan tucking in, and that's where I think I'm going to try not to mess this one up and say Sadio Mane was tasked with essentially not necessarily like marking Kyle Walker, but just always making sure that that first pass into space for Kyle Walker wasn't ever on.
Wasn't this the Liverpool game plan for the entire team, right? They had that 4-3-3 shape, right? And the two wide guys, so Firmino's the number 9, Salah and Sadio Mane. I keep getting nearly saying Leroy Sané. Sadio Mane are just pulled back a little bit, and then they're all tasked with blocking off passes, not with stepping to the ball, not with winning tackles, not with chasing people down, but almost just making sure that Manchester City can't play the easy pass. And I think Manchester City were just suddenly like, what is going on? Every week we can play the easy pass. We always have options. It always works. Liverpool refused to get pulled out of shape, refused to allow Manchester City to make passes. And then whenever there was a sort of an attempt to take them on one-on-one, people like Trent Alexander-Arnold were up to the task of not letting anybody dribble past them. Suddenly Manchester City have no way through. I don't think they've experienced that this year.
I don't think they have. And I think, to go with a football analogy for a second, if you have your
like a throw ball?
Exactly. If you have your primary receiver, if you're the quarterback, I think the idea there is that like they're the one who you're looking at first to get open. That like this play is designed to get that person open so that you can hit them with the ball. But if they're not open, then you check down, you find the receiver that then maybe is the most open or seems like they fit the bill the most. But they're always not your primary one. It's not the play that you've necessarily drawn up.
Yeah.
And so it doesn't put you in an as comfortable position, and it's also less likely to work all the time.
So Man City were throwing passes to offensive linemen?
Yeah, well, not quite, because I'm not sure that's allowed. But it was more so that if you're always going to your option B, because in this case, I think...
You can't throw to the lineman.
I think you can only throw to a certain number. Only a certain number of people can be eligible receivers downfield, which is why you'll see that flag sometimes, Daryl. But in this case, really I think if you can't go to your option A, then even if you can get to your option B, it still means that, say, we can't play Kyle Walker down the wing of the channel into space, so we have to drop it to Kevin De Bruyne. Kevin De Bruyne can turn. Maybe he's got a little bit of space, but then he's going to play it back out wide to Kyle Walker, who's maybe 15 yards closer to midfield than to goal, and then you are having to change things a little bit. You're just slowing it down enough.
I think you're basically describing what happens in the build-up to the second goal, the Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain goal, because all those things happen. Just all the passes are closed down. Manchester City end up with whatever the equivalent of is thrown to your sort of your least favoured receiver. It ends up with Kyle Walker out wide trying to do like a heel flick pass that's easily cut out by Liverpool, and away we go.
Yes.
Away we go one more time.
Yes. Can I just add really quickly, though, that this game sort of makes me bummed out for the Manchester Derby this weekend, because I do think that Liverpool showed that one way you can slow Man City down is to cause them problems, like as soon as they get the ball at midfield. Not as many teams have tried to do. Let's just get all the men behind the ball, bunker. They can pass the ball around, but we're not going to give them clear opportunities. Eventually, they'll find one. And I feel like if Jose Mourinho were going to do one of those two things, it's going to be sitting back. So as a Man United fan, even with this one, I'm still sort of like, we might get the wrath of Man City this weekend.
That'll be interesting to see what happens this weekend, is sort of where Manchester United set their line of pressure.
Yep. But in the meantime, let's talk about what Liverpool do here.
So it's Liverpool on the break after sort of shutting down all Man City's good passing options and winning the ball back. Away they go. Now I think there's a tackle from a Man City player, and then a kind of loose ball that Gundogan is like 75% favoured to win, and James Milner is 25% favoured to win. But James Milner flips the odds and just comes charging through, wins this ball, and it's such a strong tackle. You kind of hear it, right? You hear a good thud as Milner clatters into Gundogan. Not a foul, I don't think.
Nope.
And then I think it's just pure luck that the ball ends up being aimed at Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain.
I agree. I think it's James Milner.
It's not a pass, right?
No, it's the thing. It's up there with like professional foul of this looks like the team is about to break. I'm just going to put it out. That's my whole job, is to put that ball out of bounds. Then we'll regroup. So I think he is trying to win that tackle, but also just boot it into the touchline or like boot it away so that then Liverpool can regroup. It just so happens that he boots it straight to the foot of not Alexander-Arnold, Oxlade-Chamberlain, who, to his credit, with the ball moving as fast as it is and it being like sort of a deflection scrum tackle, for him to settle it, take a touch, and then get that shot off in 3 touches is admirable, to say the least.
He looks ready for it, which I found really interesting in that it wasn't a pass and it was way too hard, and he settles it as if he was fully prepared for it and was expecting it. And settle, touch, and bang, laser to the top corner. I think we looked on the replay, the ball after Ox strikes it doesn't even spin.
It's like very, very little spin,
Yeah, it's like he freezes the ball and then propels it to the top corner.
I'm going to assume that he hit that ball hard. Just a shot in the dark there.
Oh, and Arsene Wenger must be thinking,
yes, and
maybe I should have played him centre midfield.
Well, yeah, Trent Larson tweeted, Trent Larson or Bryce Larson, not sure which. That feeling when you remember Taylor from the Total Soccer Show giving thumbs down to Maribor for being so bad as to allow Oxlade-Chamberlain to score.
That's where we were not long ago.
Yeah, and I mean, really, I think he is coming to his own playing that midfield position. There, we talked about this a little bit during the game, but you as an England fan, can't have hated the fact that midfield three for Liverpool were all English.
Yep. So Jordan Henderson, the number 6, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, and who else was there?
James Milner.
And James Milner alongside. By the way, Milner involved.
By the way, I'm just going to say it now. You're about to say it for me. He is the most underrated player, I think, in this game. Because he is involved in all 3 goals, and yet you keep forgetting he wasn't even on the field.
Yeah, so, Milner with that first pass down the line that set Salah away. Milner with this tackle to set up the Oxlade-Chamberlain goal. And Milner with another tackle to set up the third goal.
Yep.
Yeah, the only downside is he's retired from international duty, so we can't pick that straight up Liverpool midfield. The guy I thought you were going to say was Jordan Henderson, who was kind of literally at the centre of all of this, right? Playing sort of the central midfield role for Liverpool. We rewatch chunks of this, and he does a lot of stuff that you don't notice. Like, he's one of the first to apply pressure to like a Kevin De Bruyne who can really hurt you. He suddenly can't turn because Henderson's right on his back, snapping at his heels. And he's very calm on the ball, a little bit sort of, we're going to need him to do this at the World Cup. He's a little bit English Busquets in terms of he's the one that controls the passing. Not saying he's as good, but he's maybe the best England can do in terms of a Busquets, what's the word? Simulacrum?
Sure.
Is that even a word?
I don't know, but why not? But I'll also say, like...
Simulacrum?
Continuing that one further, not the word you're trying to say, but your idea. But also we know Sergio Busquets can be a little bit tricky at times, can be a little bit like cheeky at times. And Raheem Sterling comes on, did not start this game, but comes on as a second half sub, gets booed. I mean, they're booing the Anfield crowd every single time Man City get the ball, but the booing intensifies when Raheem Sterling gets the ball. And I think that annoyed him. But then Jordan Henderson has like one tackle, but he boots Raheem Sterling pretty good. Sterling gets up and kind of shoves Jordan Henderson. And you and I are both big believers that if you're reacting and getting in the face of the other player when you're losing, it more so indicates frustration than it does intensity.
It looks like bitter biscuits, sour grapes, all those kind of things.
And he goes on to get a yellow card, does Raheem Sterling. So I think there's a little bit of Jordan Henderson being like, maybe I'll just leave a stud in here and just let him know, hey, I remember you.
My name is Giorgio Henkets.
Sure.
All right.
Oh, boy.
So the third goal.
Yeah. We haven't even, just to say, that it's an amazing hit from Oxlade-Chamberlain. Yeah, I mean,
I don't even know what to say about it. It's just one of those sort of rare strikes. Like, I weirdly feel like all players of the quality of Oxlade-Chamberlain, meaning any of the 3 Liverpool midfielders, any of the Manchester City midfielders, are capable of striking a ball like this. And I'm sure they've done it a million times in practice and sometimes in a game. But it's really rare in a game to have the sort of time and space to be able to hit. And there's an element of luck to hitting it 100% perfect and everything working. Is it because this is on a weird sort of tackle breakaway that he's able to have the space to do this?
It is. What I think it indicates for me is the exact opposite of a quicksand game, where it is just sort of like ball coming at me, settle, I've got time, space, touch, shot, goal. And like there's a decision being made there, but there's no thinking. There is no I'm going to take a touch, then I'm going to take another touch, then I'll pick my head up. And if I have time and space, it is just sort of, it's the puke play from Semi-Pro, the Flint Tropics, where it's like we do it so much that it becomes rote. In this situation, it's just sort of like, I know exactly what to do here. I'm not even going to think about it. Whereas I do think if you switch that around, then it's Leroy Sané. Maybe he thinks, I'm going to get a little bit closer. I'm going to take one more touch. I just want to make sure. Ooh, that pass might be on. Okay, now I'll shoot.
So weirdly, maybe the fact that it was like a hard Milner clearance that he had to control without thinking makes it sort of the same as an assistant coach rolling it to him at, where do Liverpool practice? I can't remember. At the Liverpool training ground.
There you go.
So the pressure is just off because he has to react so quickly.
I think it's
and then
possible.
You hit it perfectly. Well done, Alex.
So 2-0 Liverpool.
Get on that plane to the World Cup.
He will be. Soon to be 3-0, I think.
Yep. A Sadio Mane header, which starts with James Milner.
You sure it's not Leroy Sané?
I'm very sure. Right. I'm very sure because we got it wrong so many times watching together. I think I've got it now. I don't think I'll make that mistake for the rest of the show.
Yep. All right.
Very confident.
Osama. We'll see what happens. All right.
So actually, this third goal starts with Nicolas Otamendi coming out of the back with the ball for Manchester City. And just like with the second goal, there are no passing options. He's looking around. He doesn't know what to do. He can't find anyone. So he makes the decision, which a lot of Manchester City defenders have made this year, and it's worked out, to just be like, all right, well, there's no options. Then my second option is just to dribble.
Yeah.
And he takes off down the middle of the field. I can't remember who the players were, but he goes past 2 people. He's on a charge right to the middle. But then the man of the moment, James Milner, comes sliding across. Really like spread leg tackle, just gets a toe to it. Liverpool are away again.
Yep. And it is a thing where it would be easy to blame Nicolas Otamendi for like thinking, why are you trying to dribble out of the back? Why are you going on this slaloming run?
Because Liverpool have blocked off all the exits, right?
And it is like, then your options are try to force a pass, but maybe get it intercepted, and then you're in a worse situation, or boot it long and risk just giving the ball right back to Liverpool. And so if you don't want to do that, if you just feel like, oh, we're conceding possession too easily, then maybe you are going to, okay, I'll bypass this by dribbling with my feet, then I'll look for the pass because obviously then I'll have created space. It's just the problem is he keeps not having space.
Yep, until he meets the outstretched leg of James Milner.
There you go.
Away Liverpool go, I think, is it Salah sort of ends up having sort of a shot, but then the ball comes back to him and he's got time to just lift his head up, float, no backlift on this, he floats in a beautiful cross for Sadio Mane to head home.
And we watched this a couple different times. All I can say is that I don't necessarily think Man City do anything like wrong as a system. I think the big mistake is
losing the ball at midfield with your centre back, right?
I mean that's a problem. But what I mean is like after that, it's not like, oh, that broke down and then this broke down and then that was bad. I think everybody recovers, everybody gets back into the right defensive shape. I think the only issue is that when that ball comes, it is sort of so deceptive from Salah that Fernandinho, I think, thinks, oh, I can step and win that one and make sure that I don't have anybody near me.
You saw him step forward and then step back,
He
right?
steps at the wrong time, and so basically steps, realizes, oh no, I have misjudged this, and then has to like step backwards to try to win it, and then he is not aggressively going to meet it. He is trying to get to it, and evidently does not.
Do you feel, you watch it in slow-mo, you could see him mouth, oh no, I have misjudged this.
Oh no, I've misjudged this. Yeah,
that's what happened. Mistake.
Yep, exactly. Cut to the Job gif. Yeah.
So Sadio Mane header, 3-0 Liverpool. Then I would argue that the rest of the game, they really did that thing well of not all collapsing on top of the box and parking the bus and inviting Man City forward, but holding the line at round about halfway, staying in that 4-3-3 shape and focusing not on winning the ball, which is weird for a Klopp team, right? You think of them as like chasing the ball down, but even though that's not really what gegenpressing is, just blocking off all the passing lanes, continually frustrating Manchester City.
Yeah, because, I mean, as we've already said, at least as far as we know, no shots on target. Like, outside of those first couple of minutes, it never seemed like City were really getting into the rhythm of the game. And so I think if you're Liverpool, there maybe was that inclination to like, oh, we could probably get 4 or 5 in this one. But you also then risk like conceding on the break. Suddenly it's 3-1. Maybe it finishes 3-2. Now you're not as strong going back for the return leg. So I think it's a credit to Liverpool. And I think another thing from that Pep Guardiola post-match interview is he said, outside of that 1 15-minute period where they scored their 3 goals, not sure that math checks out, but still, we were dominant. We had all the possession. And I think Jurgen Klopp will hear that and chuckle to himself because I think this is a game where they did not care about possession. Once you're up 3-0, sure, have all the ball you want. If you can't create any opportunities with it, then that's wonderful that you have possession leading to nothing.
And I saw a lot of preventative substitutions as well, right? Like Salah came off, but apparently is fine.
He looked injured. I think he went to the locker room just to maybe get it checked out, but was back talking to Klopp at the end of the game. So I think
Firmino
we'll be okay.
Got a tiny cut on his head. They brought him out. So I think it wasn't... It was smart to kind of rest people. And the fresh legs of like Solanke and Wijnaldum when those guys came in, I think really aided Liverpool in making sure they could keep that system going. No one would tire and make a mental mistake.
And flipping that around because you have Wijnaldum comes on, Solanke, as you said, Alberto Moreno. That's 53rd minute, 71st minute, 85th minute.
Moreno got to play sort of left wing up front for a bit, didn't he?
He did, but 2 of those are very early for changes. Yeah. Whereas City make 1 change, Gundogan goes off, Raheem Sterling comes off. That's in the 57th minute. That's the only change they make. And I think it really felt, maybe it was a little bit of damage control for Guardiola. Maybe it was, okay, no more goals we'll concede. Maybe we'll try to get 1, but the biggest thing is don't concede anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't think they really did much to change apart from, we think, going from a sort of 4-2-3-1 to a sort of just straight up 4-3-3.
Yeah, the biggest thing was to get De Bruyne out on the right? Yep. It really didn't make much difference. And anything, if you think of like the Guardiola sort of... the way he always, like, you'd say he'd overthink, so has like some deep plans for games. His change for the second half was essentially to mirror Liverpool's 4-3-3. Like, the best he could do was say, we'll just do what they're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Which says a lot, I think.
It does.
All right, I'm going to circle back to this game in a second, but just to mention that in today's other game, which we had on the lower screen, Barcelona beat Roma 4-1. I would argue that tie is over because Roma are not going to win 3-0.
I don't think so.
Right?
No.
In the second leg, that's not going to happen.
And Roma are not going to like basically shut Barcelona out, and then I think they would struggle to score 4 goals against Barcelona.
It may even be that Umtiti scores an actual goal.
I know, right?
In the second leg. We saw him trying to take credit for what was definitely a Roma own goal.
We did. I also enjoyed, we were watching this one with our friend Pavlos, who's Greek, and he sort of didn't want to blame Manolos for that second own goal. Roma had 2 own goals, the first one coming from Daniele De Rossi in the first half, the second one coming from Manolos in the second half. not from Umtiti. Certainly the pressure from Umtiti causes problems.
Oh, he was present.
Yeah, but he then runs off celebrating and like kissing the badge and pointing to the jersey, and it's very much like he is claiming credit for that one. And on review, I do wonder if his teammates are going to be like, wait a minute, that wasn't you.
So that second leg, we don't think that is really worth investing time in because we don't see Roma. I'm sorry, Roma fans, but Totti's retired. The magic, there's no more magic.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like 2 of these 4 fixtures are like already done. One of them is probably done, and one of them is also probably done.
So here's my question, though. Even though it's roughly the same result, why do we both feel like the Manchester City game hosting Liverpool in the second leg next week, 3-0 down, there's a chance that that's definitely worth watching?
I think because it's Man City, and they've scored so many goals, and they have the ability to score 3 goals in 5 minutes, and suddenly it's in the 11th minute, and it's 2 goals already, and now suddenly this game is on. But we've also seen from Guardiola in teams past, both with Barcelona and with Bayern Munich, that he can overthink things, and a 4-1 loss in the first leg can be a 3-0 loss in the second leg, or those aren't exact numbers, but it can be that too, where something that's bad, he tries to tinker too much to make sure he rights the ship and makes too many changes, and there are further problems. So it's more so for me that game is the one that is most interesting to watch in the second leg.
Yeah.
Even if maybe there's more to play for with Bayern and Sevilla, I still feel like this is the one that probably you could see any number of things happening in that second leg.
They may be Premier League champions officially by the time that happens.
That is a possibility.
Yeah. Okay, so all that
he
is
says
to
in
come.
a high-pitched voice.
All that is to come next week, next Tuesday. The weekend, as we said, it's Everton-Liverpool, and it's the Manchester Derby.
Yep.
So 2 great games to watch in the Premier League. There was also CONCACAF Champions League. Last night, Toronto beat Club America 3-1. I DVR'd it. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet. Tonight, it is Chivas de Guadalajara hosting the New York Red Bulls. The DVR is set for that one. We will get a chance to talk about that on tomorrow or Friday's Total Soccer Show. We'll get a look at both of those games.
Yeah, we're waiting until Miguel Herrera does or doesn't file his police report with the Toronto police or incident report before we can discuss what happened there.
There was drama. There was definitely
drama.
CONCACAF Champions League, very, very interesting at the semi-final
Indeed.
stage. Okay, so we'll be back tomorrow to talk CONCACAF Champions League and maybe some listener questions. Before we close out today's show, Taylor, I've got some scouting reports in front of me.
As do I.
Who we got?
We've got John Fernandez scouting Borja Mayoral, the 20-year-old Spanish striker for Real Madrid. Borja Mayoral, I think. I've got it. Borja is still struggling to get minutes for Madrid, but he's doing very well for Spain's U21s. He started both of their most recent U21 Euro qualifiers, scoring 3 goals against Ireland in a 5-3 win and a brace against Estonia in a 3-1 win. They are top of their group. I believe they are undefeated.
Does Borja Mayoral need a move?
It could be. Maybe he needs a loan move.
Willie Reed is scouting Jesus Vallejo, a 21-year-old Spanish defender for Real Madrid. Vallejo, is that how we're pronouncing it? Vallejo's season has been ravaged by injuries, but he did captain the Spain under-21s in that win against Estonia. However, because it was Estonia, he didn't see much action. Burn on Estonia.
Yeah, slightly. I mean, especially given that we know that one was a 3-1 win. I mean, they still got a goal in there. Dylan Veach scouting Kai Havertz, the 18-year-old German midfielder for Bayer Leverkusen. This report was from a couple days ago. There is one more recently, but we're sticking with the old one for now. Kai was named to the best teenage 11 in world football by Goal.com recently, meaning he joins Man City's Phil Foden and Brahim Diaz in that midfield.
Ooh, maybe Phil Foden could be the key in the second leg.
There you go.
For Manchester
Mike could
City.
be. Probably
I'm
not.
going to check out the best teenage 11 for Goal.com to see if there are any more Scouting Network additions we can make.
I like it.
Charles McHugh is scouting Trent Alexander-Arnold, the 19-year-old English defender for Liverpool. I feel like we've talked about TAA a lot today.
Have we?
Charles says, I'll keep this short and sweet. During Saturday's match against Crystal Palace, Alexander-Arnold committed a foul throw. Stop doing that, Trent. Oh, you also mentioned, though, that maybe he was the key to changing the game for Liverpool, foul throw or no.
I think Denny Mills mentioned that, and I paraphrased Denny Mills, but yes.
Charles also says that Trent Alexander-Arnold definitely stopped doing it this afternoon, the foul throwing, as he successfully shut down Leroy Sané. We're playing 90 minutes in Liverpool's 3-0 win in the first leg of the quarter-final clash with Manchester City. Can confirm that scouting report.
Well done, Ta. Brobot Ben scouting Enes Ünal, the 20-year-old Turkish striker for Villarreal. Ünal was called up to the Turkish national team for their recent friendlies. He subbed on in both matches, a 1-0 win over Ireland and a 2-2 draw with Montenegro, but didn't do anything that was particularly noteworthy, says Brobot Ben.
Mark Ryan is scouting Giovanni
Some sort of robot. I feel like it's wearing like a robot wearing a tank top.
There we go.
What I'm going with.
There we go, yeah. Mark Ryan is scouting Giovanni Simeone, the 22-year-old Argentine striker for Fiorentina, son of Diego Simeone, not Maradona, son of Diego Simeone. So, Gio Simeone, after 8 scoreless games, Gio Simeone scored the first goal in Fiorentina's 9-2 win over Crotone. Scored on a rebound, which demonstrates his high-energy approach and overall poacher's ability. He then knocked in another, this time in a 2-0 win against Udinese. Simeone received a pass in traffic, dribbled through the defence, and then buried the ball in the back of the net. Why was there traffic on the field?
It's odd. You would never expect the highway to go right through the field, but sometimes you got to break things up. Make money where you can.
Thank you, Mark, for the report. Keep an eye on Gio Simeone.
Zibo Artus scouting Lucero Cuevas, the 22-year-old Mexican striker for Club America. Cuevas banged in 4 past Monarcas as America won 12-1. Decent results, bringing her total for the season to 30 goals in 26 matches. That's Mohamed Salah territory. Despite the great form, she was not called up for Mexico's friendlies against the United States.
And sad face emoticon, I see here. How was she not called up?
Excellent question. Do not know. Yeah.
Shreyas Romani is scouting Dan Axel Zagadou, the 19-year-old French defender for Dortmund. Shreyas says, after getting the start in Dortmund's goalless draw with Salzburg in the Europa League a few weeks back, Dan Axel Zagadou has since been sidelined with a hamstring injury. I wondered why I didn't see him in Der Klassiker. Additionally, he apparently has had disciplinary issues, including missing some of his German lessons. Safe to say his first season in Dortmund has gone downhill since November.
It's a weird life that teenagers live in professional soccer.
It is, right?
They gotta go to school and learning lessons, but also playing in like Europa League and Champions League and Bundesliga. It's a tough life. And that time I mean it sincerely.
Thank you to everybody who sent in scouting reports. If you'd like to join the Scouting Network, it's totalsoccershow.com/join. All that remains to say is, Taylor Rockwell, thank you for taking the time to watch some Champions League with me this afternoon and to record this show as well.
Thank you, Daryl Grove. Your Mohamed Salah-like streak of excellent hosting continues.
Thank you very much. All right, listeners, thank you for listening. And we'll be back tomorrow with some CONCACAF Champions League talk and hopefully some listener questions as well.